In my previous life, my mother was self-moved, placing an encouraging note in my stationery bag during the college entrance exam, leading to my being accused of cheating. Only on my deathbed did I learn that this was all Tan Shue's idea. After being reborn, I swore to change my fate and not repeat the same mistakes. They all said Tan Shue was just joking with me, so I returned each of those jokes in kind. Why, aren't you all laughing? When my husband cheated and abused me, I sought my mother's support, but she said, "It's your fault for being useless, unable to keep a man. Is it my fault that he cheated and abused me?" She continued, "You can only blame yourself for not seeing people clearly." Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "You were the one who told me to marry him in the first place." My mother looked at me in shock, asking, "Did I force you to get married? You didn't want to. Could I have forced you?" She insisted that it was all my own choice and not to blame her for the failures in my life. I was momentarily speechless, knowing full well when my life's failures had truly begun. That year during the college entrance exam, I was confident, but during the first Chinese exam, I found a note in my stationery bag that wasn't mine. I pretended to be calm and only opened it after the exam, discovering a line she had written, "Baby, be careful." Someone who never cared about my grades or my situation at school, only concerned about Tan Shue, had done something like this. During the exam, I thought I had escaped disaster, but after all the exams, I was reported and, after investigation, found guilty of cheating, resulting in the cancellation of all my exam scores. Based on my usual performance, I had enough to get into a prestigious 985 university, but everything was ruined. Because of her self-moving act, I lost even the chance to retake the exam. Forced to struggle with just a high school diploma, facing constant setbacks in work, the scandal of cheating in the exam became a topic of gossip, trapping me here, remembered by them for years. After my father's death, I was pressured by her to marry Jiang Dong, whom she favored. He constantly nagged me, using filial piety to demand what he wanted until he got his way. Yet, it was all my own choice. When I was being abused, she advised me to let it go, not to make a big deal out of it, ignoring the injuries on my body. Even when I fled back to my parents' home, she happily welcomed Jiang Dong back, cooking a table of her favorite dishes, urging us to reconcile quickly. When I discovered his infidelity and wanted a divorce, she blamed me for not being able to keep a man. I was completely heartbroken, no longer hoping for her support. Just before leaving, I overheard a conversation between my mom and Tan Shue. "Will Jia really not hate me? How could she? Back then, when you got her college entrance exam results cancelled, didn't she still forgive you? This time will be the same." My mom's voice sounded panicked. "I caused it, but back then, it was you who told me to do it. You were the one who reported her and introduced Jiang Dong to me." Tan Shue feigned surprise. "But wasn't it you who asked me how to keep him?" "I was just joking." It was then that I realized my entire life hadn't been a series of accidents. All the disasters were man-made. I drove home in a daze and got into a car accident. When I opened my eyes again, I had somehow returned to my senior year of high school. Maybe even the heavens couldn't bear to watch the ridiculous and pitiful life I had lived. This time, I swore I would not repeat the same mistakes. I forgot most of the details, but I always remembered the incident from my previous life that had almost ruined my entire life. In a way, the tragedy of my school days began here. When Xi and Jingsheng blocked my path, I muttered under my breath, "Here it comes." He looked arrogant, pointing at me magnanimously. "Hey, I think you're not bad. Want to be with me? I won't repeat the same mistakes." It started here, and the surrounding crowd erupted in gasps. I spotted Tan Shue among the onlookers. She was still so young then, unable to hide the gloating look in her eyes. I looked up at Xi and Jingsheng and smiled. Sure, why not? My reaction seemed to surprise him, but he didn't care much. He laughed exaggeratedly, sizing me up with disdain. "Now that I look at you again, you're not that good looking, and your personality is quite boring. Let's break up." And so everyone understood that it had just been a joke. The envious looks turned into ridicule, mocking me for being so naive as to think I could have any designs on him. But my reactions still didn't go as they expected. I still smiled. Sure, why not? My words were unchanged. It seemed I really didn't care at all. Tan Shue walked over at this moment, took my hand, and said worriedly, "Jia, you don't have to do this. I know you're upset. After all, you've liked him since before." As soon as these words came out, everyone assumed I was putting up a front, pretending to be calm. I shook off her hand and waved at Jiang Yanghua in the crowd. "Let's stick to the bet. 3,000 yuan, please." Everyone present was stunned, including Tan Shue. she couldn't understand how the situation she had orchestrated had turned out like this. Jiang Yanghua, being from a wealthy family, didn't care about 3,000 yuan at all. I don't have it on me, I'll transfer it to you later. Then he turned to Xian Jingsheng, did you collude with him to set me up and make me lose 3,000? You're treating today for the billiards. Xian Jingsheng finally caught on and glared at me furiously. You tricked me. I shrugged. Don't look at me like that. Weren't you betting on me too? This is a win-win for both of us. Yes, Xian Jingsheng's confession to me was a complete bet. He bet I wouldn't refuse him. In my previous life, my rejection made him feel he had lost face, and he started pursuing me openly. Throughout, he only cared about his own feelings, never considering mine, bringing me endless trouble, not to mention his group of followers who, thinking I was playing hard to get, targeted me at every turn. I sought help from my mother, but Tan Shui got to her first, twisting the story, so my mother thought I was the one being indiscreet, flirting with men at school, and she scolded me for being shameless, asking why I even bothered going to school when I should just find someone to marry early. But now, thinking about it, what does this have to do with me? It was a completely unjust misfortune. I leaned in and whispered to him, I didn't want to, but you started it first. I'm just defending myself. Don't tell me you're going to get someone to teach me a lesson now. I knew that once I said this, he wouldn't do it, no matter what his intentions were. Under his fiery gaze, I started digging a hole for Tan Shui. Let me tell you quietly, today's whole thing was someone trying to embarrass you. Instead of focusing on me, you should think about who suggested you come to me and secretly passed me the information to use you as a pawn. Yes, if I didn't know about his bet, how could I have prepared in advance to humiliate him? Seeing his realization, I smiled contentedly. Tan Shui, after you conspired behind my back in your previous life, you managed to hide beautifully. When I found out and told my mother, he brushed it off with a casual remark that it was just a joke. My situation, my suffering, all swept away by that one joke. A joke. Tan Shui, let me see if you can still laugh this time around. When Tan Shui came to find me, I was memorizing vocabulary. In my previous life, after losing hope for the college entrance exam, I abandoned all of this. If I had known there was a chance to start over, I would have definitely taken 5-3 seriously. As soon as she entered, she became a desktop cleaning master, sweeping away everything on my desk. Jejia, what exactly did you say to Xian Jingsheng? Why did he come to me, saying he would make me pay? My parents followed in, and my mother looked at me with disappointed eyes. Jejia, how could you team up with others to bully Tan Shui? I was wronged because Tan Shui was joking, but when she was wronged, it was because I teamed up with others to bully her. I looked at the mess on the floor, but my heart was calm. I had already accepted the fact that I was not favored. I calmly told them everything. I just received a message and turned the tables when I was being teased. It was just a joke. Was it necessary to bully your own family like this? My father said. A joke? Do you see me laughing? I seemed bewildered by the question. What does this have to do with Tan Shui? I just told Xian Jingsheng that thanks to someone informing me, we're even now. I didn't say anything else. Maybe your friends are also joking with you, but you misunderstood. They had nothing more to say, and Tan Shui, stomping her foot in anger, ran out. Before my parents left, I asked them if they could install a lock on my bedroom door, but they refused. Once, my room had a lock, but later it was removed. Even when I was at home, I wasn't allowed to close my bedroom door, so they could enter whenever they wanted, as if no one else was there. I don't keep a diary for this reason. It's as if I'm not their child but their property, not needing my own thoughts and ideas, just needing to obey them. So when I expressed my intention to go to a faraway university, my mother was willing to ruin me to keep me by her side. I won't let them have their way. In my previous life, whether Tan Shui was behind the bullying, I've probably already guessed. Even though I was the one who suffered unjustly, I was seen as a thorn in the eyes of those people. My desk was always covered in ink, chalk dust, and strange dried-up drinks. My assignments, whenever I handed them in, would come back not as they were, always with disgusting words written on them, or as the words on the blackboard now say, Jejia, the whore, is shameless and willingly despicable. Seeing me enter the classroom, some people looked worried, while others wore expressions of anticipation, eager to see what would happen. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, I didn't angrily demand to know who was responsible, nor did I panic and rush to erase the words. Instead, I calmly walked to my seat and began my morning reading as usual. As the numbers on the electronic clock above the blackboard kept ticking, some people started to fidget uncomfortably. They exchanged glances, and eventually, one person stepped forward to pick up the blackboard eraser. I smiled and asked, "If you're not the class monitor, why are you erasing the blackboard?" He seemed flustered and said, "It's not good to leave these words here, is it?" I continued to smile, but my voice had turned much colder, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. "There's nothing wrong with leaving them, keep them there. Or are these words yours?" He quickly distanced himself, saying, "They're not mine. If they're not yours, then no one is allowed to erase them. Whoever does will be assumed to be the one who wrote them." He was momentarily stunned by my words and returned to his seat sheepishly. The unspoken rule was that such small actions had to be done secretly, not in plain sight of the teacher. Even if caught, they had to be framed as playful pranks, but this time, it was clearly crossing the line, especially with the teacher likely to arrive at any moment. Maybe this minute, maybe the next. Finally, someone couldn't take it anymore and stepped forward to erase everything on the blackboard. It was one of Tan Shue's admirers, an ordinary-looking guy with average grades and family background. Tan Shue didn't like him but was happy to keep him around to do her bidding. Unfortunately, in the end, they never developed any relationship. I directly confronted him. "Jiang Song, was it you?" His gaze shifted, but he forced himself to sound tough. "What if it was me?" he retorted. "You've provoked Xi and Gu, don't you have any self-awareness?" It seemed he was trying to intimidate me by invoking Xinge's name. I smiled, grabbed his collar, and kicked him straight into Xin Jingsheng's classroom. Tan Shue was there, and as expected, Xin Jingsheng hadn't arrived yet, but that didn't matter. From the moment I kicked the door open, the classroom fell silent, but I still slammed my palm on the lectern. "Your classmate Xin Jingsheng made a bet, lost it, and now has the nerve to send someone to teach me a lesson. Please tell him for me. If he can't afford to lose, then don't play." Useless. I truly blew up, becoming so notorious that the homeroom teacher called me in for a talk, and both sides were summoned to meet with our parents. Jiang Song's mother also appeared to be an ordinary person, seemingly a housewife, looking somewhat uneasy. My parents were temporarily unable to make it and would be late. In front of the teacher and the parents, Jiang Song completely changed his tune, claiming it was just a joke with his classmates and that I had overreacted. He lowered his eyes and looked quite wronged, and his mother kept nodding, saying, "Yes, teacher, our child is usually the most well-behaved. There must be some misunderstanding." The homeroom teacher looked at me and said, "Students should love and care for each other. Don't use such heavy-handedness. Apologize to each other. Write a self-criticism, and Dr. Zhou. Let's just let the drug issue pass, shall we? Everyone likes to joke, right? But why are your senses of humor so bizarre?" I coldly pulled at the corner of my mouth. "All right, Jiang Song, repeat your joke to your mom, and we'll let it go." He suddenly raised his head, his expression somewhat venomous. My voice remained calm. "Some jokes, if you wouldn't say them to your mother, you shouldn't say them to other girls. Since you think it's a joke, do you want to say it now, or should I?" He stammered, unable to speak a word. He didn't want to say it, so I did. I repeated the words on the blackboard word for word. His mother finally realized what her good boy had done and was shaking with anger. At that moment, I gave him a way out. "I know this wasn't your intention. Someone else made you do it, didn't they? Who is it? Tell me, and I won't pursue it." Just as he hesitated and was about to speak, a knock sounded at the door. "Report," Xin Jingsheng called out. Without waiting for the teacher to say, "Come in," he entered. He didn't know how long he had been listening, but as soon as he came in, he said, "No need, I know who it is." He walked up to Jiang Song, towering over him. "Tan Shue, right?" He looked at me, seeming a bit speechless. Xin Jingsheng, always play fair. I've already told everyone, and no one will bother you again." Xin Jingsheng was particularly competitive, and by dragging him into this, he was finally able to play a role. I no longer cared about those petty troubles, but while flies aren't deadly, they are disgusting, and they use their influence, so I can too. Sharpening the axe doesn't delay chopping wood. From now on, I won't have to waste study time dealing with these things. Just as I was thinking this, a man rushed in, slapped me across the face, and shouted, "You heartless thing, conspiring with others to slander Tan Shue. How could I have a daughter like you? Apologize to Tan Shue right now." My mother didn't stop him but only said to the teacher, "It's all my fault for not disciplining her. They will definitely teach her a lesson." It seems that what Tan Shue did has been spread by Xin Jingsheng. My nose grew hot, and a stream of blood flowed down. accompanied by the metallic taste in my throat. I couldn't help but sneer coldly in my heart, feeling a mix of bitterness and sorrow. I also wonder, how could I be the daughter of people like you? Everyone present was shocked. This turn of events was completely unexpected, beyond anyone's anticipation. I turned out to be the calmest person in the room. I took out a tissue from my pocket, pressed it against my bleeding nose, and looked at the teacher. Is it still possible to apply for boarding? I lowered my eyelashes. Staying at home isn't very convenient for my studies. As for the reason, everyone should be well aware. The family affection at home is too terrifying for me. The homeroom teacher chuckled, still catching his breath after everything happened so quickly. What do you mean by that? Are we depriving you of food or clothes? You're slandering us. Tan Shui, feeling wronged, raised her hand again as if to slap me on the back, but Exine Jingsheng unexpectedly stepped in to block her, not even uttering a word. He seemed to understand how young he is, already associating with the wrong crowd. Even a dog would wag its tail at me. But you only bring shame to the family. Don't go to school these next few days. Come home with me. He said this while reaching out to grab me. The homeroom teacher finally reacted, standing up to block between us. Jiang Song's mother also quickly pulled me to the side. Mr. Jia, I think you've misunderstood. This time, we didn't call you here because Jia did something wrong. We don't believe in hitting children. Exine Jingsheng, unfazed, stepped forward, towering over him, making him retreat half a step in fear. Earlier, I made a joke with your daughter. Sorry about that. As for Tan Shui's rumors, they were all spread by me, not Jia, but they're not lies. They're all true. If you have any objections, come find me. Bullying your own family members, what kind of skill is that? Jiang Song's mother instinctively patted my shoulder gently, as if to comfort me. In her embrace, I unexpectedly felt warmth. Meanwhile, my biological mother was only worried that this hot-headed student might hit her husband. Even if I were really beaten, she would only urge me to quickly apologize. Although I had long accepted the fact that I wasn't favored, being held by a stranger now made my heart tremble, almost bringing tears to my eyes. It's actually quite good. Everything went as expected. I took the opportunity to gain everyone's sympathy and, conveniently, escaped from this home before the exams, allowing me to focus on the college entrance exam in peace. They helped me tell everyone that my parents are a pile of excrement, and Tan Shui is the stick stirring it. Perfect. I'm very satisfied with the final outcome. After the teacher clarified the situation, my parents asked a few questions, especially my mother, who muttered several times, "How could that be? Teacher, did you make a mistake? How could it be?" In the end, I got what I wanted, permission to board, and the living expenses would be handed over by the teacher. They still care about their reputation, so this method ensures I won't lack for living expenses, saving me from having to scrimp and save before the college entrance exam. After Jiang Song's filter for Tan Shui shattered and he apologized to me, he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know Tan Shui was like this, nor did I know your family was like this." I didn't accept his apology, nor did I forgive him, and I didn't care. Rather, I now only care about myself and want to firmly grasp my own future. If Tan Shui and those two could just leave me alone, I probably wouldn't seek revenge. For now, time in my senior year is really precious, so I've been studying frantically, trying to absorb as much knowledge as possible in the shortest time. As for Tan Shui, his room being a mess is trivial. What's more important is that everyone knows he offended Exine Jingsheng, so his situation isn't great. In fact, I'm not much better off, but because of what Exine Jingsheng said before, no one openly bothers me. Tan Shui offended Exine Jingsheng. While I caught the eye of Exine Jingsheng, it's normal for them to think that way. For example, now, even though he's not from our class, he brazenly appears here, taking someone else's seat without any guilt. He asked when I would finish studying, and without raising my head, I replied, "Never, it's never ending." He stared at me for a long time, then the usually flamboyant and carefree young master lowered his voice. Tan Shui said, "Was it true that you always liked me?" My hand paused for a moment, and I finally looked up to see a pair of eyes trying to appear calm but hiding a trace of expectation. I lowered my head and continued solving problems. "She wanted to see you embarrassed. Do you really think what she told you could be true?" After a long silence, he simply, "Oh, Ed, I didn't feel embarrassed or guilty," speaking in a flat tone, "thinking someone likes you, but since you don't feel the same way about them, it's okay to make such jokes." Exine Jingsheng, "I won't like you." His face turned pale, as if he finally realized what he had done back then. "But you didn't fall for it, did you?" And instead, It made him lose face. I continued calmly. I didn't fall for your tricks not because you held back, but because I dodged them. If it weren't for that inexplicable interest you took in me, I would have rejected you back then. What would be the difference between my situation and Tan Shui's today? Xi and Jingsheng, be a better person from now on, be kinder to strangers. Likes often start with strangers, so he understood that I won't like him. I once read a passage that I really liked. It described a person who, at the age of 13 or 14, found a real gun on the road. Being fearless, they pulled the trigger, but no one died, and no one was injured. They thought they had fired an empty shot. Later, when they were 30 or even older, walking down the road, they heard a faint sound of wind behind them. They stopped, turned around, and the bullet hit them right between the eyes. I won't seek revenge for things that haven't happened. This person has caused me trouble in this life, but they've also solved my problems. With this piece of advice, it balances out, I suppose. After moving into the dormitory, I became the first to arrive and the last to leave every day. Even entrusted with the keys to the classroom, everyone could see my efforts. After Xi and Jingsheng stopped bothering me, I became even more absorbed, almost wanting to sleep with my mistakes as my pillow at night. I didn't expect any more trouble, especially given Tan Shui's current situation, which makes it hard to find accomplices. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because of Xi and Jingsheng, I was forced to be more conspicuous, which led to this trouble. Today, as usual, I was the first to arrive at the classroom. I reviewed the ancient poems and problem-solving strategies I had memorized the night before, then cleaned up as the duty student. When most of the students had arrived, I was about to start the morning reading when someone suddenly shouted, "My money is gone." Everyone started asking how much money, what kind of money, and when it was lost. Hey Ten explained that he had forgotten to take it last night and found it missing this morning. Finally, they asked who had left last night and who had arrived first this morning, aiming at me. There was no such thing in my previous life. A total of 3,000 yuan was missing. Wang Yilan stood in front of my desk, looking down at me, and asked, "Jejia, was it you?" I looked up at him, pretending to be angry, but couldn't help revealing a mocking expression. Calmly, I said, 3,000 yuan is no small amount. Let's call the police. Hearing the mention of the police, his eyes flickered as he raised his voice to cover up his nervousness. Who knows if you're just stalling for time to transfer the stolen money? Jejia, if you're not guilty, open your bag and show us. It turned out they wanted to plant the money in my bag. Wang Yilan's uncle is in the security department, and as long as they insisted, claiming the surveillance was broken, no one could prove my innocence. An incident like this before the college entrance exam would either force me to go home or leave me to endure their rumors at school, inevitably affecting my studies. It would also leave an indelible stain on my record. Wang Yilan and Tan Shuizhen are truly well suited as friends. Petty squabbles don't interest them. They're both aiming to ruin someone's future. Why did you provoke me? I just wanted to study well. Wang Yilan reached out to grab the bag hanging on the side of my desk. I stopped him, urging him to think carefully. He paused, then became infuriated by the fact that someone like me had managed to intimidate him. He brushed past my hand and grabbed the canvas bag. The bag had no zipper, and with a single motion, he emptied its contents onto the floor. The most conspicuous item was a stack of brand new 100 yuan bills. He quickly raised them and shouted, "I knew it, Jejia, even if you're poor, you shouldn't steal from your classmates." The homeroom teacher finally arrived. Seeing the chaotic scene, he first told us to return to our seats and start morning reading. Wang Yilan wasn't willing to let it go and didn't want the teacher to brush it off lightly. He loudly accused me of stealing money. The homeroom teacher looked at me with a questioning gaze. I shook my head and said, "Teacher, I didn't do it." Wang Yilan interrupted my defense. "The stuff was found in your bag. You say you didn't do it, but it's there," he continued. "Teacher, his behavior is just too despicable." I shrugged and said, "Checking the surveillance or calling the police isn't something I did, so I won't admit to it." He snorted disdainfully through his nose. "Fine, let's check." He was confident because he knew there was no way to view the surveillance. I looked at the homeroom teacher and said, "I have no objections. Teacher, let's check the surveillance." The homeroom teacher thought for a moment, likely realizing the gravity of the situation, and nodded. Then, in full view of everyone, he took out his phone and opened an app. Wang Yilan finally sensed something was amiss and stammered, "Teacher, shouldn't we go to the security office to check the surveillance?" The teacher, not very skilled with the app, explained that the school was preparing to replace the old surveillance system, and it was now possible to view it from a phone, which was very convenient. They were starting the trial with our class. Wang Yilan grew anxious and blurted out, "Forget it, I won't pursue it." Little did he know, he had missed his last chance to admit his mistake. I retorted, "You want to let it go, but I don't, today. Someone puts stolen money in my bag. If I say, forget it, what if tomorrow someone puts something else in my bag? Teacher, please investigate this thoroughly." Finally, amidst his restlessness, we saw the footage. After I left my seat, someone quietly approached my desk, looked around to make sure no one was paying attention, and placed a stack of money into my bag. That person was none other than Wang Yilan. Before the homeroom teacher and I could say anything, he lunged forward, not at me, but at Tan Shui. It was Tan Shui who made me do it. The incident was truly heinous. After investigation, both Wang Yilan and Tan Shui were sent home to reflect. The homeroom teacher asked us not to spread the news, fearing it would damage the school's reputation. I said I wouldn't speak about it as long as it was recorded in their files. After much consideration, he agreed, though whether it was actually recorded or not, I couldn't see. Even if they were being two-faced, I wouldn't know, but that didn't matter. I called the salesperson I had previously contacted. He picked up quickly, as I had shown him a clear path to success when he was struggling with his sales targets in my previous life. Our school eventually replaced all its surveillance systems with this one. This time, it was just a bit earlier. My opponents aren't just people who follow procedures. I naturally need to be more cautious, which is why I made these arrangements in advance. "Hello, Mr. Liao, how's your recent performance?" His voice carried gratitude. "Thanks to your guidance, it's much better than before." Perhaps due to his profession, even when speaking to a high school senior like me, he addressed me with respect. I lightly tapped the receiver with my fingers. "Would you like to take it to the next level?" Without hesitation, he said yes. So I told him about today's incident. "It's because of your product that such a vicious bullying incident was prevented. I wonder how schools without your product would handle such situations." I paused, letting him draw his own conclusions. The next day, a Weibo post in the voice of a student's parent went viral. It praised the school for using modern methods to ensure children's safety, almost completely eliminating the possibility of school bullying. The parent expressed great confidence in entrusting their child to such a school. What followed was predictable. Wang Yilan and Tan Shui were quickly exposed, and this time, their records were definitely affected. The school, instead of suffering negative consequences, gained even more trust from parents, who saw the school's impartiality and willingness to investigate. Mr. Liao's product also became a hit. If it weren't for the fact that I always used public phones, he would have called to thank me for days on end. Hanging up, I still felt a bit unnerved by his enthusiasm. He must have made a lot of money. I'm envious. I'll buy a phone after the college entrance exam. As the college entrance exam approached, there were only a few days left. From the beginning, when I felt I could never study enough, to now, when I felt fully prepared, I couldn't tell if time had passed quickly or slowly. The teacher called me to the office and asked about my plans. All day students had left the school. Was I going home or staying in the dorms? I told him I wasn't staying anywhere. I had already booked a hotel for a few days, thanks to Jiang Yanghua's 3,000-word reminder from the homeroom teacher. I knew that if I lived alone, I shouldn't oversleep, and it would be best to have someone wake me up. I agreed, but honestly, I'd be grateful if they just didn't turn off my alarm. However, when my parents found out, they actually called the homeroom teacher and asked me to move back home, giving up my room to Tan Shui. They said Tan Shui had been having trouble sleeping lately due to her poor mental state, and since I had another room at home, I should come back. My mom mentioned that they knew the reason for her mental struggles better than anyone. My hands clenched so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "Mom, I've always wanted to ask you. Clearly, I'm your daughter, so why are you and Dad so biased toward Tan Shui? Besides, Tan Shui is from Dad's side of the family. What does that have to do with you?" After a long silence, she finally told me that Tan Shui wasn't just my cousin, but actually my biological sister. My first thought was that she was a secret child, but what she said next completely shocked me. "Your uncle is infertile, so your grandmother arranged for us to give him our first child to raise and care for him in his old age. If it weren't for that, you might not even exist. Mom knows you've been wronged all these years, but at the root of it, it's our family's fault toward Shui. She's your real sister, so don't take it to heart." It took me a long time to find my voice. No wonder he hated me so much, and no wonder my parents were so tolerant of her, even more than they were with me. their biological daughter. Because she was also their child, everything made sense now. Tan Shui had already become part of another family, so they had to appease and compensate her to keep her heart. I heard that my uncle was quite wealthy, and once Tan Shui inherited his fortune, if she chose to acknowledge them, their lives would improve significantly. As for me, I was part of the family, so no matter how much they scolded or treated me, I would always return to them. I was their safety net, the fallback when Tan Shui didn't want to come back. That's why, in my previous life, when they found out I was planning to study far away, my mom took such drastic measures, knowing Tan Shui harbored resentment and pushing me forward to bear the brunt of her anger. In this way, the three of them remained a harmonious family. They weren't unaware of the grievances I'd endured over the years, but how much of that favoritism was truly out of love, and how much was driven by the desire to secure a future with Tan Shui's inheritance. Before, I always thought they were just muddle-headed, but now I realized they were far too shrewd. When I got home, I saw that the door lock that had been removed was reinstalled. I didn't delude myself into thinking it was for my sake. I understood immediately that you had let Tan Shui stay in my room while I was away. Mom gave a nervous laugh, saying, "After all, you're sisters, so it's no big deal, right?" When I opened the wardrobe, sure enough, it was filled with her clothes, while mine were crumpled into a heap in the corner, like a pile of trash. In the evening, my mother asked me which university I wanted to apply to. Unlike my previous life, when I had let the teacher inform her, I mentioned a university that was very close, just nearby. I said I could come home often. She happily put food into my bowl. Yes, it's good to be close to home. I then changed the subject. Of course, if the scores were high enough, I still wanted to go to a better university. Mom, what do you think? I stared straight at her. What would a normal mother do? Tell me to try my best to escape, encourage me that I can do it. Spending so much time with these parents, I don't even know how normal parents and children interact. She was uncomfortable under my gaze but still muttered that being close was good, answering quickly, my mother didn't want me to become too successful, I should just be above average. Always under her control. On the morning of the college entrance exam, I woke up on time. Normally, the house would be noisy by now. Even during holidays, I couldn't sleep in peacefully. My mother would definitely wake me up, but today, the house was eerily quiet, as if deliberately trying to make me miss the exam. As I stepped out the door, she appeared, smiling and telling me she was just about to wake me up. She handed me a bottle of fresh milk, but it was already opened. I waved my hand, saying I was running out of time and would grab something to eat on the way. She insisted on giving me the bottle, saying I should drink at least a little. It's nutritious. I took it and left, planning to drink it on the way. Of course, I wouldn't drink it. Who knows what's in it? When I arrived at the exam venue, I checked my pencil case and threw the note that had ruined my life into the trash, not even wanting to open it. I had said it before, I would not repeat the same mistakes, so I wouldn't give you the chance to hurt me again. Mom, I really don't love you anymore. Even though I was nervous about taking the exam again. As soon as I started writing, I strangely calmed down. By the time I finished and handed in my paper, it ended without any incidents. Nothing from my previous life happened. When I got home, I saw Tan Shui crying in my mother's arms, looking extremely sad. When she saw me, her eyes filled with hatred as she rushed at me, blaming me for making her miss the exam. Why should it be me who couldn't take the exam? It should have been you. Today, while he was in the hotel taking the elevator, the elevator malfunctioned and trapped him inside. Unfortunately, since he was on his way to an exam, he didn't even have his phone with him. The hotel was unwilling to call the firefighters, fearing they might damage the elevator. They just kept delaying until the repairman arrived to open the elevator, causing Tan Shui to miss the first exam. Yes, I did it on purpose. He likes to take things from me, so let him take this. In my previous life, this incident caused quite a stir because, although there were no casualties, everyone missed the college entrance exam, and the matter was eventually swept under the carpet. That's why I remember it so clearly. This time, I even hired someone in advance, before the elevator malfunctioned. Don't let anyone get on the elevator before the malfunction occurs. Until Tan Shui gets on, he's quite unlucky, having won a prize, but it seems luck is on my side. I pretended not to know, dodged his attacks, and only glared at my mother. What are you saying? Wait a moment, Mom, what did you put in my pencil case? Do you know this could be considered cheating? After exchanging a glance with Tan Shui, she finally showed a panicked expression. What should we do? Were you seen? I sighed. I don't think so. I was very careful. don't do this again in the future. I was scared to death halfway through the exam. Seeing their expressions, I knew I could rest assured and focus on the exam, knowing that watching me fall from grace would be a delight for Tan Shui. When the bell rang for the last exam, I completely relaxed, feeling that everything was over. Later, the investigation team came to see me once, saying someone had reported me for cheating. I cooperated very differently from my previous life. No matter how they looked at the surveillance footage, I was completely innocent, and it ended without any real trouble. Tan Shui, however, didn't believe me and always thought I was just stubborn. He repeatedly told others about my alleged cheating, and then hypocritically expressed sympathy. We all know how hard you've worked, but I told him I didn't cheat, and he smiled, comforting me. I know you're innocent the most. I'm waiting for your admission letter. On the day the college entrance exam results were released, he invited many people to our house, claiming it was a celebration. In front of everyone, he made me check my scores on the spot, wanting my friends to see how well I had done. When he saw the scores, his smile froze. How is this possible? It can't be, because not only were there my scores, but they were also very high, almost exactly what I had estimated. I knew I was set for the university I wanted. I heard you can change the page by pressing F12. Did your sister tamper with the scores? One of her close friends asked. At this, their eyes turned contemptuous, and Tan Shui regained his confidence. Jejia, I know you're upset, but you can't deceive people like this. If it makes your parents happy for nothing, how sad would that be? I just smiled. Enough about me. The results are out. Cousin, aren't you going to check? Her body stiffened. Under her friend's urging, she dawdled, using the excuse of poor internet connection to say she would check later. One of them acted quickly and straightforwardly, helping her by removing a subject score, which greatly affected her mindset, and her subsequent performance was poor. The final results were predictable, with even vocational colleges rejecting her. She then checked mine and found the score was still the same. I hadn't used developer mode to alter the web page, so the difference was clear. Tan Shui completely lost it. She personally went to report the incident, knowing there was no way I could have gotten away unscathed unless there really wasn't that note in my stationery bag that was supposed to be there. Finally realizing I had deceived them, she was furious. After driving everyone away, she confronted me as if possessed, accusing me. You knew all along you were playing me. Was I trapped part of your design too? Of course, I wouldn't admit it, just looking at her innocently. What are you talking about, Tan Shui? You insisted on staying at the hotel, so I let you. How could I possibly have known the elevator would break down and you just happened to step in at that moment? No matter how she questioned or investigated, in the end, she found nothing because it really was just an accident. When it came time to apply for universities, my mother gave me a lot of advice, all of which were close to home, even allowing me to avoid dormitory life, but they were far from the kind of university I had in mind. Ah, it's all the same, I can always take the postgraduate entrance exam later, I thought. Jejia, you've never been so far from home, aren't you afraid? I looked at her and smiled. No, not at all. In fact, I'd prefer to go as far as possible, as long as Tan Shui is still here, right? His voice faltered. That night, someone quietly entered my room with a key. Pulling open the drawer to search for something, I turned on the light, revealing the intruder to be my mother. Did I wake you? She said. I just came to find something. I'll be out soon. Looking for the dynamic password card, right? The one needed for filling out university applications. I smiled as I watched her leave the room, not telling her she wouldn't find that card. I had thrown it away. After receiving the dynamic password card, I didn't show it to anyone. Memorizing the numbers before discarding the card, I filled out an application for a university very, very far away. I would never give anyone the chance to ruin my opportunity. Along with the admission letter came a group of media. These people were naturally brought by Tan Shui, who wanted to use public opinion to destroy me. Cousin's jealousy ruins her chance to take the college entrance exam. What a sensational headline, but unfortunately, a little investigation would reveal that the incident was entirely accidental. She was just unlucky. I, on the other hand, took out a recording device and pushed her into an even deeper abyss. She must want to escape this home. Over the years, how have you treated her? Don't you know in your hearts? But all of this was for you. Swear, what does it have to do with me? Auntie, what did you call me? How dare you call me auntie? Do you resent me? Yes, I resent you for giving me small favors, thinking you could make me recognize your dreams. Now what? Your own daughter is estranged from you, and she'll surely seize any opportunity to leave far away and never return. So what do we do? How can we make Jejia stay? I don't know, can't exactly slip an encouraging note into her pencil case and then report her for cheating, can we? The recording abruptly cut off, and she demanded a lock be installed in the room, perhaps sensing that someone had been coming and going. In fact, it wasn't a delusion. One day, I deliberately came back just to place this voice recorder. Fortunately, Tan Shui had the habit of snatching my things and swapping with me. Otherwise, after the lock was installed, I really wouldn't have known how to retrieve it. Later, I mentioned the previous investigation team again. The interviewers exchanged glances, both seeing the same thought in each other's eyes. This is big news, I smiled faintly. Tan Shui, along with Mom and Dad, you're about to become famous. The real family of 3 is truly going to make headlines. After all, such a thing is unheard of. It's terrifying. How could there be such parents? This Tan Shui is so twisted, using such a vicious method just to stop her cousin from taking the college entrance exam. Not only did she prevent her from taking the exam, but if she cheated, she wouldn't even be able to retake it. This person ended up trapped in a hotel elevator, missing the first exam, which I call karma. Tan Shui was almost insane. But who wouldn't say it was self-inflicted, just to make my life difficult? She even burned my admission letter. It's all your fault I couldn't take the exam, and now I'm being cyberbullied. Why should you get to enjoy college life happily? I looked at my mom. She averted her eyes guiltily. Tan Shui was just joking, she said, using that same old excuse. I shrugged. All right, no big deal. It'll just be a bit more troublesome when I report to school. The two of them were stunned. How is it possible that in the 21st century, without an admission letter, they wouldn't admit you? While they were overwhelmed by public opinion, I escaped. This time it was the admission letter. Next time, they might come straight for me. After settling myself, I called them from a convenience store phone. What did you tell your uncle? Why did he send Tan Shui back? My dad's voice sounded like he wanted to devour someone. My daughter is missing, and your first reaction isn't to ask where she is, but to ask what I told my uncle. Of course, I told him all your plans. It must have been tough for him, having his inheritance already on someone else's mind while he's still alive. Dad, all these years you've been violent, arrogant, indifferent to others' feelings, and you like to hide behind women. You're such a coward. No wonder Grandma favored Uncle and didn't like you. He was so angry his breathing grew heavy. Fine, you've grown some backbone. Let's see how you'll go to college without me paying your tuition. I smiled. Don't worry about that. I'll figure it out myself. You don't need to look for me anymore. If there's anything, just contact Tan Shui. After all, she's your daughter too. When it's time for alimony, I'll have my lawyer send it to you. With that, I hung up the phone. Get angry. After conspiring for so many years, now everything is gone. How could my uncle leave the family fortune to a white-eyed wolf who can't be nurtured? So since revenge is to be taken, it must be on his most precious possession. What's the point of making him regret losing me? It's neither painful nor itchy. Money and interests, their essence is still self-love. As for Tan Shui, I was too kind. I even gave him back the parents he most wanted. All these years, wasn't it because of this that he has always resented me? So please, you troublemaker, bind yourself tightly with them. As for me, I'm flying far away. Mr. Liao's commission, after deducting tuition fees, still left quite a bit, about 30,000 yuan. I knew he must have made a lot at the time. Many years later, I met Jiang Dong again, my abusive and cheating husband from my previous life. In my previous life, we met through an arranged meeting, but this time he pursued me. Jiang Dong acted very well. If I hadn't known what kind of person he was beforehand, I might really have been deceived by his appearance. I had always been indifferent to him, which finally angered him. One night, he ambushed me on my way home and easily subdued me. After entering university, I took up women's sonda. Someone like him I could take on 8. Later, the police also found out he had connections with Tan Shui, plotting to have Jiang Dong PUA me, ultimately to gain my property. Back then, I got into my dream university, chose my favorite major, and even co-founded a company with friends. Now, saying I've achieved a little success isn't bragging. No wonder I still ran into him despite being so far apart. It turned out they were targeting me all along. I sent both of them to prison. One day, I received a call from my mother, not sure how she got my number. Hello, Jejia, it's Mom. I looked at the number, familiar, and it wasn't a scam call. Oh, do you need alimony? Didn't we say not to call before? After chatting for a while, I blocked her. On the other end of the phone, she was crying and apologizing, regretting hoping I would forgive her. She said Tan Shui was willful and rebellious, not caring for others at all, even snatching their money for high consumption. She said Dad also missed me. His health had been poor these past 2 years, and he wanted me to come back and visit. In essence, it was because Tan Shui couldn't take care of them in their old age, so now they wanted to mend our relationship. I told them I already knew about Tan Shui being in prison, that I was the one who sent her there. She lost her composure and shouted, "That's your own sister. Because of you, she's in prison. How can you be so heartless?" I calmly replied, "Not because of me, but because of the crime." "That's it, I'm blocking you now. If you call again, I'll change my number," regretting that until my death in my previous life. He never expressed regret, it was merely that in this life they didn't get what they wanted. I've said it before, I will never repeat the same mistakes. This life, I've finally managed to break free from that home, from the past, and I will only live for myself after hearing the first story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, my boyfriend and my cousins set up a spirit siphoning array for me. They drained my education, career, skills. In the end, my luck was completely sucked dry, and I became a withered corpse, while they, stepping into marriage, became the winners in life. After the rebirth, my boyfriend handed me a milk tea laced with talisman water, smiling as he said, "Bella, just let me have the first authorship of that paper. Once it's published, we'll get engaged." I smiled gently. "Sure, I can give you the first authorship, but you'll have to pay with your life." I opened my eyes, was staying up late at the company, working on a proposal. My cousin, Susan, was sitting beside me, sipping milk tea and watching a drama. The director walked over with his bag on his back. "Everyone, prepare well for tomorrow's proposal review meeting." He patted Susan's shoulder with emphasis. "The Moon Tower project is the most important. Perform well tomorrow. I have high hopes for you." Susan feigned modesty and nodded. The director looked at me, his face immediately darkening. "Bella, if you bring out another bullshit proposal, don't bother coming back." I only replied coldly, "Oh, I did a decent job with the previous plan, but unfortunately, the director and Susan are birds of a feather." The director glared angrily. "What kind of attitude is this?" Susan pretended to be the good guy. "Director, don't take it to heart. Teacher Bella is just a college graduate with limited abilities. Please cut her some slack." The director scolded. "If it weren't for Susan constantly cleaning up your mess, the company would have fired you long ago." I sneered. "Who's begging her? If you've got the guts, just fire me." "You," the director, stopped by Susan, couldn't be bothered with me and left. Colleagues rushed to comfort Susan. "Susan, some people just take kindness for granted. Better to keep your distance from her in the future, right? If it weren't for you staying late with her every time, she probably would have been fired long ago." "She stayed late with me, that's hilarious." Clearly, she was relying on the spirit-absorbing array to suck away all the hard work and ideas I put into the proposal. I can't be bothered to listen. After everyone had left, Susan came over, acting coquettishly. "Cousin, you're so smart. Could you help me revise my proposal? In my previous life, I thought she was my cousin, so I helped her with everything. It wasn't until I was on the verge of death that I realized every achievement I worked so hard for would be effortlessly taken away by her." In everyone's eyes, Susan is a beautiful elite, while I am a useless, worthless college dropout. I didn't even look back. If you know your brain isn't good enough, just quit and stop wasting resources. Susan was taken aback for a moment. "Cousin, I know you're efficient, but I gave up those Fortune 500 companies just to work at the same company as you. Otherwise, with my academic background, I could easily get into any organization better than this one." It would have been fine if she hadn't brought up her academic background. The moment she did, I just wanted to strangle her. Back in our senior year of high school, I used to explain problems to her. As a result, she attended an Ivy League university, while I went to a vocational college. In my previous life, I thought it was because I lacked ability. It wasn't until just before my death, when I found Master Real and became his disciple, that I finally understood. It turned out that my luck and vitality had long been drained by that adulterous couple using a spirit siphoning array. As long as it's mine, whether it's knowledge, plans, or technology, it will be continuously drained away. In the end, to get the company listed, they sucked me dry until I was nothing but a husk. I sneered. "Then go work at a big tech company. With your prestigious degree, why are you here stirring up trouble? Is it because you're not capable enough, and the big companies simply don't want you?" Susan's expression changed. "From now on, don't talk to me anymore. I'm afraid someone will say I'm trying to cozy up to the top student again. Susan curled her lips. Cousin, I just wanted you to help me revise my proposal. You don't have to be so selfish, especially since I often help you fend off drinks. In my previous life, I drank until I had a stomach hemorrhage, finally managing to secure the Moon Tower project, yet, the client insisted they had a good feeling about Susan. Suddenly, the project became Susan's. She stepped over me just like that, getting promoted and receiving a raise. I rolled my eyes, taking a tiny sip and then hiding in the bathroom until it's over. Is that what you call drinking to fend off the alcohol? What else is there? Just making a few changes. Every time I make a few changes for you. How is it any different from writing it for you? Next time, ask another colleague to make a few changes for you, and see if they don't slap you across the face. Susan got flustered. Cousin, can't you be a little kinder? Susan, have you upset your cousin again? You, always so fond of throwing little tantrums. Hurry up and apologize to your cousin. My boyfriend, Jason, has arrived. Jason appears gentle and refined, like a piece of jade. Those who don't know his true nature would easily be deceived by him. In my previous life, I believed he loved and protected me. Little did I know, I was merely a human blood bag for him. Susan's eyes welled up with tears. Brother-in-law, I didn't mean to upset my cousin, I just wanted her help, but who knew she could be so selfish? I saw a flicker of heartache in Jason's eyes. He quickly masked it and smiled. No one is allowed to make our Bella angry. Bella, come have a cup of your favorite bubble milk tea. Although the spirit-absorbing array is effective, it still needs constant reinforcement. The recipient must drink the talisman water over a long period. Moreover, the recipient must harbor no ill will toward the caster, otherwise, stealing someone's luck would be too easy. This is also why Jason and Susan have been sticking around me and constantly trying to please me. I took a sip and said indifferently, every time Susan and I argue, you always manage to show up. What a coincidence. Wiped my mouth and secretly spat it out, not drinking a single sip. Jason stiffened for a moment. I pretended to be affected by the spiked milk tea, my expression softening. Susan, send me your proposal, I'll take a look at it tonight. Susan immediately beamed with joy and sent me the proposal document. After arriving home, I opened my phone and ordered some yellow paper for delivery. Don't ask. If you do, it's just that even Taoism has to keep up with the times. Gritting my teeth, I cut 3 fingers before barely managing to draw 9 talismans. The talisman blazed fiercely. In the flickering flames, one could faintly glimpse a phoenix weeping blood. The phoenix's sigh talisman. It was a method I had only grasped just before my death. My master, Real, though skilled in the Tao arts, was merely a disciple of a minor branch of the Magic Mountain sect. He could see through this spirit-siphoning array, but he did not know how to break it. Moreover, by the time I sought refuge under his tutelage, I was already nothing but a withered skeleton. Before my death, I desperately studied and, together with my master, created the Phoenix Breath talisman. It can only suppress the spirit-absorbing array. However, for now, it's sufficient. I continue to draw another type of talisman, but this time, it faintly emits a black aura. In an instant, everything was burned to ashes, leaving only a few trails of black smoke. I just cast upon myself a golden lock soul-bewildering array. The Phoenix Breath talisman can suppress the spirit-siphoning array. The golden lock soul-bewildering array can confuse the user of the spirit-siphoning array, make them think the spirit-siphoning array is still working, but in reality, it will only backfire. I don't know who the person behind Jason and Susan is, the one who set up the array, but this time, I will definitely drag them out into the open. Early the next morning, the director arrived, his face dark. Bella, last-minute notice. The client will also be attending the meeting. Don't present your proposal. Save the time for Susan. I sneered. Why shouldn't I present it? You're so biased towards Susan. What's your relationship with him? The director gritted his teeth. Your proposal isn't even worth a dog's glance, and you want to embarrass yourself in front of the client. How can you even compare to Susan? You didn't even look at it and you're saying mine is no good. What, do you have X-ray vision? The director was about to scold her again when the clients and executives had already arrived. The last to enter was a handsome man dressed impeccably, who seemed to be nonchalant, but everyone treated him with great respect. I know this person, Bruce, the eldest son of the group. I was also quite surprised that he would attend such a small proposal review meeting for a subsidiary company. Susan moved closer to strike up a conversation. President Bruce, I'm so honored that you actually came today. The man merely nodded and paid her no further attention. Susan felt a bit snubbed, and the meeting was about to begin. After hearing several colleagues' proposals, The clients all thought they were quite good. When it was Susan's turn, the director was very supportive. "This is our department's ace, Susan. Her proposal won the National Gold Award last year." Susan stood up with full confidence. Upon opening the proposal materials, she was immediately dumbfounded. "This plan only has a few sections. I actually didn't help her write it at all." Susan looked at me in shock. I just kept my head down in the meeting, pretending not to see. Others also noticed the unusual nature of this proposal. The client frowned and asked, "Is this the proposal written by your company's ace?" Susan had no choice but to brace himself and explain, "Sorry, it might be the wrong version that was sent." Susan usually performed well, and the leaders thought it might have been an accident. The director quickly stepped in to defuse the situation. "Then why don't you share your document on the screen? I wrote all the proposals myself." "So where did she get a document from?" Susan stammered and hesitated. "Maybe another colleague can go first. I need to handle something." The client grew impatient. "How long will it take? We have to leave soon. We have another meeting right after this." Probably. Where could Susan possibly come up with a plan on such short notice? The client was completely fed up. "If your company isn't ready, perhaps we should discuss cooperation another time." I stood up and smiled. "Mr. Pan, please wait. I haven't presented my proposal yet. Could you spare me 5 minutes?" The director had already removed my part from the presentation, so when I stepped forward on my own, he was clearly panicked. Just as the director was about to interject, Bruce gave the client a look, and the client sat back down. "Can't just come for nothing. Go ahead and speak." Everyone cast mocking glances at me. In the past, my reports, though logically clear, always seemed rather unimpressive, but this time, I looked full of confidence. The proposal hits the nail on the head. Well reasoned and well supported, the client is no longer in a hurry to leave. Listening with rapt attention, they nod repeatedly in agreement with my proposal. After I finish speaking, no one in the room says a word. I feel a slight tension, a thin layer of sweat forming in the palms of my hands. Then, I heard the client laugh. "This must be the best proposal I've heard today. Teacher Bella, let's discuss it in more detail after the meeting." Meeting break. Susan humbled himself, handing me a milk tea. "Cousin, you must be thirsty after talking for so long. Have a cup of bubble milk tea." I took it and took a sip. "Oh, it's been spiked. I already have the aura of the phoenix within me, so why would I fear a talisman-infused drink?" But the more they gave me the charm water, the faster the backlash came. Only after seeing me drink it did Susan reveal a calculating expression. "Cousin, could you help me clarify? Just say this proposal was a joint creation between us." "Okay." I raised an eyebrow. "How dare you call it a joint creation? Did you write a single word?" "Cousin, please, I'm begging you, just help me out." Susan might look pitiful on the surface, but deep down, she's probably feeling quite smug. I took another sip before pretending to agree. The meeting continued. Susan beamed with a smile. "President Pan, if you have any questions about the proposal, feel free to ask me." President Pan looked puzzled. Teacher Bella explained it very clearly. "We just need to discuss the details later." "All right." This proposal was co-created by Teacher Bella and me. "After the meeting, I'll confirm the details with you." I feigned surprise and looked at Susan. "Teacher Susan, you weren't involved in this proposal." Susan's smile froze on her face. She hadn't expected me to turn against her. "The Bright Moon Tower is a benchmark project. If she can't secure it, the James family won't be able to help her get promoted either." Susan gritted his teeth, deciding to tough it out to the end. "Teacher Bella, have you forgotten? The idea for the proposal came from me. You were just the tool who wrote it." This was outright poaching a client right in front of them. Susan's approach was far too brazen. Both the leaders and the client frowned, but the young Master Bruce in the corner was clearly enjoying the drama with great relish, so no one dared to speak up and stop it. I continued to play along. I don't remember that. When did Teacher Susan ever give guidance? Could you be more specific? Which part was it?" Susan was immediately caught off guard and mumbled vaguely, "Probably the part about property management strategy." I smiled at her and took the paper materials from her hands. "Teacher Susan, why don't you try reciting it without the script? What is the property management strategy?" Susan froze right on the spot. She hadn't even been listening just now, her mind completely preoccupied with how to snatch the project. Susan stammered. Last night, she had clearly felt all that information flowing into her mind. Why couldn't she remember anything now? She glared at me angrily. I just smiled. Facing everyone, putting on a helpless expression, everything was left unsaid. Suddenly, Susan's face began to contort. "No, this is the backlash from the soul-sucking array beginning." Everyone saw Susan suddenly start taking off her clothes. even making indecent sounds. I'm so hot. She moved quickly, soon leaving only her underwear on. Everyone was stunned by this scene. The director was the first to react, rushing over to drape a coat over Susan. As soon as his coat landed on Susan, it was thrown off. Susan pushed the director aside and, with a seductive smile, rushed toward the client. Director Pan, why look at proposals when you can look at me? The meeting room erupted into chaos. Everyone scattered like a swarm of ants, all trying to avoid Susan. I seized the chaos to deliver a swift chop. Just a second ago, Susan was busy pulling down Pan's pants. The next second, he lay on the ground like a corpse, knocked out cold. Pan, a middle-aged man who had been in the industry for so many years, had never witnessed such a scene. Holding up his pants, he could only stammer out a single sentence after a long pause. I don't like women. The Moon Tower project ultimately landed smoothly in my hands. I tried to leave, but my path was blocked. Looking up, I met a pair of sharp, handsome features. Teacher Bella. His voice is so captivating, though my heart is racing over the handsome man's looks. I remain perfectly composed on the surface. Is there something you need, President Bruce? Bruce just looked me up and down, crossed his arms, and smiled meaningfully. Not bad technique. And then he left, leaving me alone, standing there with a confused expression. Is this praising me, saying the proposal is well written? The company holds shares in Jason. Everyone in the company except me knows that Susan and Jason are involved. Ridiculous. Turns out I'm the only fool. No one dared to tell Jason about the shameless things Susan had done. I helped Susan request a very long sick leave. Secretly, I sent her to a mental hospital and used her phone to text Jason, saying she was going abroad for a vacation. I couldn't let Jason notice anything unusual. In the evening, I arrived at the lab. My advisor was discussing patent and paper matters with Jason. I watched coldly from the sidelines and continued with my experiment. In my past life, Jason had told me, Bella, what's a woman doing in scientific research? Just stay home and take care of the family. Give me this new technology, and I'll make sure you're happy. So, I gave it to him. He rode the reputation of an IT genius, and his startup company rang the bell on NASDAQ. Then he married Susan. Since you want it so badly, in this life, I'll let you continue being the IT genius. Let's see if you can handle it. After all, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The related paper was already written by me earlier, and the advisor submitted it immediately. Jason is the first author, I'm the second author, and the advisor is the corresponding author. As soon as the paper was published, it immediately caused a sensation. One hot search after another kept popping up. Jason was also invited by multiple media outlets for interviews. He was already good-looking to begin with, and now with the title of IT Genius added, he directly became the new top idol. The trending topic's popularity directly crashed social media. Trending hashtags, hashtag academic circle handsome guy, Jason, hashtag your husband is still singing, dancing, and rapping, while my husband is doing scientific research. For a time, Jason was the talk of the town. He appeared on one interview after another, enthusiastically discussing his new technology. Countless angel investors extended olive branches to him. Without even writing a single PowerPoint presentation, Jason's startup was already established. Unexpectedly, amid all the jubilation, everyone discovered that the patent applicant was not Jason, but me. According to the first-to-file principle in patent law, even if the true inventor was Jason, the patent would still become mine. In an instant, public opinion exploded. Jason's fans went ballistic, doxing my social media account. Beneath those few pitiful posts, a sea of human linguistic artistry unfolded. Stealing with such skill, even anyone would be ashamed. You can steal a patent, but you can't steal ability, I declare. If you and Satan both fall into the water, I'll save Satan. I posted a social media update and released the compiled evidence. Inside are project schedules, experimental data, lab logs, even surveillance footage from the lab, and chat records between me and Jason. It clearly shows that this project is actually my personal work. I only listed him as the first author out of goodwill, to help him graduate. I wrote in my blog post, I sincerely apologize for taking up public resources and thank all netizens for their oversight. I should not have listed someone else as the first author for my own paper. I will proactively contact the journal to withdraw the manuscript. Jason's fans are furious. They simply refuse to believe that the handsome IT genius was actually the thief, but the evidence is right before our eyes. There are even die-hard fans who actually went to watch the lab surveillance footage spanning several months. The number of times Jason was spotted in the lab could be counted on one hand. And Jason had previously stated unequivocally on various programs that he was the original creator. Fans kept tagging Jason, but Jason's social media was as silent as death. Soon, another new piece of gossip broke out. Fans have uncovered that Jason and I are not only from the same school but also lovers. Now the fans are ecstatic, starting to whitewash. To be honest, Bella only went from a junior college to a bachelor's degree, and her master's is part-time. Statistically speaking, it's highly likely that this technology was originally created by Jason. Besides, not coming to the lab doesn't mean they can't provide guidance from home. After all, they are a couple. Brother, just say the word, and we'll tear down the entire academic world for you. Looking at these amazing comments, I'm absolutely cracking up. Unexpectedly, Jason single-handedly managed to turn the academic circle into a fandom. You're hiding like a turtle in its shell, letting your fans charge into battle for you. I posted another social media. I can do a live stream for a technical demonstration. Want to have a live chat then? At Jason, social media exploded again. Jason is waiting downstairs at my place. Seeing me come down, he charges over and yells, "Bella, you only put your own name on the patent application. How can you be so selfish?" Wow, he really knows how to turn the tables. My things, I apply for a patent. Do I need to discuss it with you? Why don't you donate your face to Bruce Huang? It would make a great city wall, saving the people from forced labor. Jason's eyes turned red. After all these years of feelings. What's yours is mine. How is your behavior any different from a thief's? I slapped him directly. You're insane. Are we even married? Let me tell you, you're not even worthy of tying my shoes. We're breaking up. Jason grabbed my hand. What gives you the right to break up with me? Have you forgotten who stuck by you? A junior college girl, through thick and thin. Damn it, who was it that caused me to only get into a junior college in the first place? Get lost. Jason probably doesn't want to offend me right now either, so he softened his tone again. Bella, stop making a fuss. If you had told me in advance, I wouldn't have gone on the show. Bella, I promise, once this matter is over, we'll get engaged. Okay, bro, you don't actually think this is a reward for me, do you want this kind of blessing? Since you're so shameless, I'll give you another trick. I pretended to be very hesitant. Jason, you wouldn't lie to me, would you? Jason was overjoyed. Don't worry, Bella, you know how I feel about you. He took out a cup of bubble milk tea. Bella, have a sip to calm down. Jason stared at me intently. It seemed he had added something to the milk tea again. I pretended to be moved and immediately took a sip. Jason suddenly shuddered, as if my luck and research abilities were continuously flowing over to him again. His tone instantly became casual. All right, Bella, if you can't explain the technical difficulties during our live stream tomorrow, don't say I'm bullying you. Who's bullying who, you big idiot? Just you wait. I arrived early at the live stream room to do my makeup. This live stream generated a lot of buzz. Not only were there curious netizens, but also industry professionals. The makeup artist's sister came over to do my makeup and said with a smile, "Wow, your skin is really good. Ever since I used the Phoenix Breath talisman to block the spirit siphoning array, how could my skin not be good?" I had just styled my hair into a high ponytail. Soon, there was a commotion all around. Jason arrived, bringing a large stack of milk tea with him, which he distributed to the staff present. Then, with a beaming smile, he brought one over and handed it to me. Bella, your favorite, taro boba, once yesterday, and again today. Good lad, you've got a double safety net. I drank it right in front of him, and sure enough, it was talisman water again. Jason's smile grew even wider, probably feeling the research experience flooding in once more. He felt even more at ease in his heart. The live stream began soon. This broadcast actually had tens of millions of viewers watching together. The two of us sat facing each other, facing the camera. I first smiled and greeted everyone. Wow, Bella is actually so good-looking, just a bit haggard, like a bald-headed researcher. Good-looking or not, still a thief. Who's the thief isn't certain yet. Fans upstairs, don't be too obsessed with men. I smiled slightly. Then I'll start first. I took out all the materials and explained the background, technical value, and details, excluding confidential parts, of this technology. I even mentioned the dream I had while tackling the key challenges. At the time, I was consistently designing it as a chain structure, but after dreaming about my idol Sarah at night, I switched to a ring structure, and it actually worked. The comments below were utterly confused. Why do you have to change the loop just because you dreamed of Sarah? Someone quickly answered him below. Because Sarah is a zero. Ha 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 ha, Goddess Bella, you're so funny. you're risking your life. I believe this is definitely the real journey of a girl in tech. I look at Jason. I'm done. I deliberately made a mistake just now. Can you tell where it was? Jason cleared his throat, about to speak with full confidence. Suddenly, he got stuck, visibly. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Just moments ago, he had clearly spotted an error in the formula. Why couldn't he recall it now, no matter how hard he tried? He stammered, "Let me explain first. I'll point out the mistake after I finish." I raised an eyebrow toward the camera, feigning helplessness. "All right, Jane the genius, go ahead and speak." Jason's mind went blank, and she could only brace herself and start reading the materials. As if reciting a text, the comments section began to chatter. "Folks, I'm so bored. I feel the same. Who understands? I'm already playing with my fingers. Who's got some gossip? Let's liven up the atmosphere." Soon, a netizen claiming to be Jason's high school classmate shared an old piece of gossip. "Did you know? Jason was with Bella's cousin, Susan, during his first and second years of high school, and only got together with Bella in his senior year. The academic world's he Shuhuan, falling for whoever he sees." Another netizen commented, "Your information is way out of date. Jason never actually broke up with Susan. He was just two-timing, back in college. I even ran into him and Susan kissing on the street." Jason's fans immediately fired back. The internet is not a lawless place. Spreading rumors will have legal consequences. Soon after, someone posted a picture to shut them down. An account claiming to be a graduate school classmate uploaded an image, though blurry. It's still clear that it's Jason and Susan kissing, and the photo was taken right when I was practically going bald in the lab. I also looked at the comments section, pretending to have just learned the truth. I stared at Jason with disbelief in my eyes. Then she slumped over the desk, her shoulders trembling as if she were utterly heartbroken. Actually, I was laughing hysterically. All these melon-sharing friends were anonymously recruited by me, and of course, the gossip was voluntarily provided by them. The netizens went wild. My girlfriend is still working her ass off for Jason's first authorship, not realizing that her hair isn't thinning, it's turning green. Bella's life matters too. Jason, does that first authorship taste good? Wow, I thought he was a top student and campus heartthrob, but turns out he's just a cheater. Jason's mind went blank. He was already panicking now. Seeing the gossip comments, he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Netizens, having had their fill of drama, began to urge him on. Is this Jason even capable? Say something substantial. Didn't he publish an SCI paper? Talk about that. Jason saw the comment and blurted out, "I published in Science, not just any SCI journal." In an instant, the comments section fell silent. The live stream fell silent. Silence is tonight's Cambridge Bridge. Jason, seeing everyone looking at him with a rather strange gaze, immediately realized he had said something wrong. After a brief silence, the speed at which the comments section was being flooded was no longer something a human could keep up with. "Seriously, bro, you don't know that Science is part of the SCI database? Could it be that he doesn't even know what CNKI is?" First, we had the sleeping dragon who didn't know CNKI. Now we have the young phoenix who can't tell Science from SCI. Some commenters were very patient in explaining the facts. Science is an academic journal, and SCI is a citation database. Prestigious academic journals, including Science, are generally indexed in the SCI database, so publishing a paper in Science means it's also published in SCI. Got it. This is practically elementary school level science education. This live stream probably doesn't need to continue. Someone who doesn't even know what SCI is, claiming he wrote the paper. No one would believe that. Jason's face could no longer be described as the color of pig liver. He looked as if he were steaming with heat. I calculated that the time was just about right. Every time Jason gives me another dose of the talisman water, the backlash against him deepens another layer. Now, he seems to be babbling incoherently, as if the blow was too great. I'm a tall, rich, and handsome guy. What right do you lowlifes have to judge me? His features contorted wildly with agitation, tears and snot streaming down his face. She is my woman, so her inventions are as good as mine. It's all you damn feminists who have corrupted her. Then his entire body began to tremble, shaking visibly to the naked eye. He cried out in pain, crawling on the ground in a dark, twisted manner. That bitch actually dared to humiliate me on a live stream. I'm breaking up with her. She doesn't deserve to be with me. He bounced on the ground like a cockroach. She's just my tool. Her work is my masterpiece. He wailed for a long time before collapsing on the ground, like a puddle of mud. I lifted my head and cried out, feigning panic, "Is there a doctor? is there a doctor? The comments section is boiling over again. No way. Did Jason just have an epileptic seizure from shame and anger? Oh my god, that's terrifying. I hope he's okay. This pathetic loser must be insane. He should go eat shit. Does he even deserve the white goddess? This farce has come to an end. I contacted Science, very apologetically requesting a retraction. Science generously offered to revise the authorship and republish the paper. Of course, this time, the first author is me. Jason's company had long since folded, and he was being chased by a group of people demanding compensation for breach of contract. A bunch of venture capitalists were crying and begging to invest in me. But I don't have time to consider that right now. I have more important things to do. A few days ago, the psychiatric hospital called to say that Susan had run away. I simply said I understood. As for Jason, it said he's already like a living corpse, having not gotten out of bed for a week. I finally have some peace and quiet. Suddenly, a phone call came through, a middle-aged woman's voice, nearly frantic. Bella, what have you done to my son? Jason's mother, back in the day, to gain the approval of Jason's parents. I suffered no small amount of torment from this old woman. Your son brought this upon himself, and now he's a thief, so angry he can't even get out of bed. It's all your fault, you wretched woman. You must have stolen my son's patent. I'm warning you, if you don't clear this up soon, I'll have someone take you out. I sneered. Oh, should I clarify that both you and your son are peddling swords? She shrieked. You little bitch, don't you like men? I'll find a few old men for you to taste what men are like. I'm afraid you don't quite understand the power of the James family. Suddenly, the phone was snatched away from the other side, replaced by a very gentle voice. Bella, I'm Jason's father. Jason's father, John. He was also the only elder in the James family who had treated me with great respect in my previous life. Hello, Uncle. Bella, I'm sorry. Uncle knows you're a good kid, and I still very much support you and Jason. Jason has already lost half his life over this matter. Could you please come see him, for the sake of all these years of feelings? Bella, I'm begging you, please come over. Okay. In the end, I hesitantly agreed. I know, the opportunity has come. On Sunday, I wore a moon-white gown to attend the James family's luncheon. Just as I entered the garden, I ran into Jason and Susan. Jason looked lifeless, his suit hanging loosely on his frame like a skeleton. Susan sat in a wheelchair, her lower limbs already gone. Oh my, the backlash from the spirit siphoning array is truly formidable, she screamed with venomous hatred. Cousin, look at me, look at my legs, this is all thanks to you. I feigned curiosity. Why aren't you standing? Is it because you don't like it? Susan almost wanted to strangle me, looking even more like a witch. Ever since that embarrassing incident at the meeting, it seemed as if she had been possessed by the god of misfortune. In the mental hospital, crying out to heaven brought no response, and calling to the earth brought no relief. It was only with great difficulty that she managed to sneak out. The family business, unexpectedly, also encountered a black swan event, nearly driving it to bankruptcy, and when she went to borrow money from Jason, she was hit by a car on the way, breaking her leg, and to save her life, she had no choice but to have it amputated. Her gaze was like that of a venomous snake. But cousin, brother James still loves me. You'll never win his heart in your lifetime. Who are you trying to disgust? This blessing is better left to you. I pointed at Jason. A habitual thief, the real-life version of Gollum from Lord of the Rings. If you like him, you can cling to him and gnaw away. I just feel like vomiting. Don't pretend to be strong, cousin. Let me tell you, brother James and I will be married soon. A woman rushed up from behind and slapped Susan hard across the face. You crippled jinx, how dare you think you're worthy of my son? Susan was knocked from his wheelchair to the ground by Jason's mother. Susan looked at Jason with a hurt expression. Brother James, Jason simply pretended not to see, his gaze fixed intently on me. Seeing Jason only staring at the beautiful and elegant me, Susan cried even harder. Brother James, you said you only loved me. Jason's mother kicked Susan in the face once more. Take a look in the mirror. You're disabled. Your family is bankrupt. I think you're nothing but a jinx. How dare you even dream of my son? You're not worthy. Susan remembered how she had come to the James family to borrow money, only to be refused. She had crawled on her knees for 10 laps around the garden in the pouring rain, only to be met with Jason's mother's scorn. Susan pulled out a hidden pair of scissors and plunged them fiercely into Jason's mother's neck. Jason's mother let out a piercing scream, blood spurting out like a fountain. Jason's eyes turned red with rage as he grabbed a belt and wrapped it tightly around Susan's neck. Susan, choking and gasping for air, rolled his eyes back as he stabbed the Scissors into Jason's leg. Jason winced in pain. Tightening his grip even more, I almost wanted to laugh. Bro, instead of calling an ambulance for your mom first, you're calling Susan. Truly a model of filial piety. I couldn't be bothered to deal with their dog-eat-dog squabble, so I turned and walked away. In the banquet hall, the music was enchanting, and glasses clinked in a lively exchange of toasts. The moment I stepped inside, everyone stopped what they were doing and stared straight at me. John pulled me up onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please extend the highest respect to Miss Bella, who is present here today. Everyone's smiles were eerily on the verge of overflowing. They bowed to me with a strange gesture I had never seen before, their fingers interlocked and pressed against their foreheads. It resembled both an inverted cross and an axe. Then they prostrated themselves on the ground, slowly rose again, and began to dance wildly. The music grew fervent and frenzied. John pulled me along, dancing intricate steps. My gaze gradually grew unfocused. I didn't know when everyone had stopped. John affectionately held me close. Good girl, come with me. Yet I remained motionless, my gaze instantly clearing as I chuckled softly. Mr. James, your soul-siphoning array is truly a masterful technique. John's hand froze. He seemed not to have expected that I still possessed independent consciousness. Then, he pursed his lips and smiled. You really do have some skill. I didn't answer him, merely reaching out a hand to destroy the talisman behind me. He gave it to me just now while we were dancing. John smiled. So you're a descendant of the Magic Mountain Three Ghosts branch. No wonder you have such skills. So my master is from the Three Ghosts branch. I'll have to tell him when I get back. But to come alone with just these tricks, you're being far too overconfident. Before the words even finished, a sinister magical artifact was raised into the air by him, a tantric artifact, the flesh lotus, a malevolent object crafted from human beings. I couldn't help but draw a sharp breath. Taoist arts, yet using tantric artifacts. John, in the end, are you a Taoist or a Buddhist? My hands swiftly formed seals, and the attacked talismans flew out one after another. The flesh lotus effortlessly extinguished each of my talismans, one by one. Naturally, it is both Tao and Buddha. John was extremely relaxed. You're nothing but a turncoat who serves two masters. I snorted coldly and immediately revealed my trump card, the Thunderous Sky Talisman. I unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks directly at John. Soon, they were all shattered by him. My face turned deathly pale, immobilized in place by the binding talisman. Little girl, I originally just wanted to drain you dry, but since you have such abilities, why don't I offer you as a sacrifice to the demon god? My son and everyone present will absorb your fortune and receive the demon god's protection. I sneered. Sacrifice? What kind of feudal superstition is this? God, where is this god? Good girl, you've simply not lived long enough. If you were an old-timer like me, you'd understand just how utilitarian humans can be. If sacrifices truly served no purpose, how could people have been rushing to perform them for thousands of years? He smiled as he turned me around. Since you don't believe it, then see for yourself. In the hall, a platform had risen from the ground at some point. Unnoticed, on the platform was a fiercely burning demonic eye. It stood as tall as two men. It suddenly opened wide, staring straight at me, as if it wanted to tear me apart and devour me. Wow, even scarier than in the Lord of the Rings movie. My heart nearly jumped out of my throat. I screamed hysterically. Now, a group of people burst through the door. Bruce and my master, Real, led a group of Taoist priests, moving in perfect unison. Dozens of talismans shot toward the demonic eye. With a thunderous roar, the demonic eye erupted, its flames swelling dozens of times in size. Bruce rushed over in a single stride and released me from my immobilization. I immediately retreated far away. Bruce had brought not only the alchemist but also a large group of thugs. No one in the hall dared to make a move. A group of Magic Mountain Taoist priests, each displaying their divine powers, unleashing all their talismans. Bruce commanded among them with calm composure. A grand formation woven from talismans spun wildly in the air, with an aura capable of annihilating heaven and earth. It slowly pressed downward. Finally, the demonic eye's fiery light was completely extinguished. Only a circle of sealing remained on the platform. Bruce, quick of eye and deft of hand, shrank the seal to the size of a palm and tucked it into his sleeve. The remaining people swiftly cleaned up the battlefield, clearly all seasoned veterans. My master had no time to spare for me. His attention entirely focused on Bruce's hand seals, his expression akin to that of a besotted fool. The sound of police sirens echoed from not far away. Bruce frowned and looked at me. You called the police? I replied with an awkward expression. One must always have a backup plan. Bruce smiled. Forget it, I believe the police will also provide a reasonable explanation. As for why Bruce came here, it all started a few days ago. Jason and Susan had already suffered the backlash. Then, the mastermind behind the spirit siphoning array should also make an appearance. Susan is my cousin, and I know her situation well. She doesn't have such connections. That leaves only Jason. I swiftly climbed up the tree using special equipment and observed with binoculars. Jason and his father, John, entered a room and didn't come out for a long time. I've been observing for several days now. I've been secretly speculating. The spirit siphoning array is a heretical path. So either that sinister practitioner is hiding in the dark room, or that sinister practitioner is Jason's father, John. No wonder he's been so polite to me. It's highly likely that he is the mastermind behind the spirit siphoning array. Thinking of this, a chill ran down my spine. As I was pondering, the figures of the two reappeared in the telescope. Suddenly, John seemed to sense something. His eagle-like eyes stared directly toward my direction. I was so startled that I nearly fell from the tree. I quickly grabbed the trunk beside me, but another large hand steadied me firmly. The person was dressed in combat gear and seemed to have no ill intentions, effortlessly carrying me as he leaped down from the tree. We hurried all the way to a hidden spot. Don't be afraid, it's me. The other person removed their mask. Bruce's sharply defined face, under the dim moonlight, was astonishingly handsome. But, young master, I wasn't afraid either. I thought to myself, Mr. Bruce, what are you doing here, dressed like a special forces soldier, all wrapped up tightly, and holding a compass? Because of the sudden movement, a yellow object peeked out from Bruce's pocket, looking very much like a talisman. I was somewhat surprised, encountering a fellow practitioner, and was momentarily speechless. Fellow Taoist Bruce, is your master God? Bruce's face visibly darkened for a moment before he spoke. I am a direct disciple of Magic Mountain, here naturally to vanquish demons and uphold the Tao. He curled the corner of his lips, seeing that I was also dressed in special forces gear, his tone teasing. Fellow Taoist Bella, what brings you here? I quickly considered for a moment and decided. To tell the truth, I've been hit with a spirit-draining array, cast by Jason and Susan. I've temporarily suppressed it for now. I know, you're Phoenix. It's quite well drawn. Bruce nodded. I was startled. How did he know? Then I remembered, after that small review meeting last time, Bruce said to me with a meaningful look, a clever technique, so he had already noticed something was off back then. But I still don't know who set up the spirit-absorbing array. It was John. How did you come to know? Fellow Taoist Bruce, the James family holds shares in the company, and there are quite a few James family members within the company. Over time, I naturally became aware, the spirit-absorbing array has been suppressed, and John has already discovered it, Bruce said with a furrowed brow. So now, they intend to set up the array again. I am quite confident in dealing with John. No, Bruce smiled with an air of utter nonchalance. My heart relaxed a little. They plan to sacrifice you directly, to let the demon god take you, Bruce added. My heart plummeted from a 1,000-meter-high platform. How did the situation change so suddenly? Bruce stroked his chin, appearing to ponder. You were born on New Year's Day, which in ancient times was called the offering of the year. Combined with your fine appearance, you are perfectly suited to be sacrificed to their sun demon god. Anyway, you're not the first, and one more won't make a difference. Sun demon god, Master Real and I have only recently acknowledged each other as master and disciple. Moreover, he is merely an outer disciple of the Magic Mountain sect. Dealing with someone like John is manageable, but if we were to encounter a true demon god, it would only result in both of us, master and disciple, meeting our demise. And here before me is a true inner disciple of the Magic Mountain sect. Without hesitation, I collapsed to my knees and clung tightly to Bruce's leg. Master, save me. Bruce fiddled with the compass with an air of divine composure. If I intervene, I will require payment. I tugged at his sleeve. All my savings of 660,000 are yours. That's everything I have. Do you think I'm short of money? Bruce lowered his head and raised an eyebrow to look at me. Young Master Bruce, indeed, is not short of money. I smoothed my hair and lifted my head, gazing at Bruce with my large, watery eyes. From my windbreaker, I forcefully squeezed out a surge of emotion. This humble woman is willing to offer herself in marriage to serve the great immortal Master Bruce. I promised to be fully devoted during the day and barely clothed at night. Bruce closed his eyes, as if his spiritual resolve had been greatly shaken, and he lifted me up by the collar. A few weeks later, news. Recently, the police have apprehended a major cult crime syndicate. The leader of this cult organization is the well-known entrepreneur John And the individuals involved include 128 social elites from various fields such as entertainment, finance, IT, and more. Currently, all those implicated have been placed under criminal detention. The crimes of those heartless devils were brought to light. One by one, each of them had blood on their hands, and not a single one could escape the judgment of the law. Jason and Susan. Likewise, Jason's mother was killed by Susan, but Susan was not sentenced because she had already gone insane. She even began boiling her own severed limbs, claiming they would grow back, and was eventually confined to a mental institution. In the detention center, Jason had become emaciated beyond recognition, looking half human, half ghost. The internal organs are already failing, weeping bitterly before me while spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood. The demon god was sealed, and the soul-sucking array had long been undone. The fortune he took from me will rebound upon him twofold. Bella, for the sake of our past affection, help me hire the best lawyer. If I can still get out, we'll get married right away. Okay. I was so angry I laughed out loud. How utterly clueless is this idiot. Jason, I always knew you were stupid, but I never imagined you could be this stupid. Do you really think I would marry a murderer like you? I stood up, my eyes filled with nothing but mockery. Get ready to face the firing squad, you scum. With a carefree turn, only Jason's frantic roars remained behind me, and all of this had nothing to do with me anymore, although I smoothly rose to vice president. Working for someone else could never compare to being the boss. I decisively resigned and founded my own company. In my previous life, Jason could ring the bell at NASDAQ, and naturally, I can too. What's more, I'm now a global internet sensation with undeniable influence. At the appreciation banquet, all the fellow practitioners present that day were in attendance. After 3 rounds of drinks, the atmosphere was at its peak. My master's face was flushed red and his neck thick with drink, his words beginning to slur. Uncle Bruce, thank you for breaking the spirit-draining array, sealing the demon god, saving my disciple's life, and even recommending me to join the inner sect. I have no way to repay you. It's all in this drink. The two of them were arm in arm, shoulders pressed together. I could hardly bear to watch, though my master was 43 years old, because his seniority was lower than Bruce's. He shamelessly called him Uncle Bruce. My habit of feeling embarrassed for others has struck again. I excused myself to use the restroom, stepping out for a breath of fresh air. A few days ago, the 10 million yuan reward had already been deposited into Bruce's account. I also prepared many other gifts of gratitude and personally delivered them to Bruce's sect, including a silk banner, immortal grace and divine bones. You saved my dog's life. Bruce's face immediately darkened, as if his spiritual cultivation had been shaken once more. I was enjoying the breeze on the balcony when someone suddenly approached. Bruce leaned casually against the railing, arms crossed, and smiled. Fellow Taoist Bella, don't you think you've forgotten something? The thank you banquet has been eaten, and I've even paid the reward tenfold. Is the young Master Bruce still not satisfied? I checked my phone and saw that the payment had actually been refunded. I made a bitter face. Fellow Taoist Bruce, all my worldly possessions are right here. Could you perhaps extend the deadline a bit longer? My startup is just about to turn a profit. Bruce took a step closer. Who was it that said they'd repay me with their very self, by day, never taking off their clothes, and by night? I quickly covered his mouth. This isn't an uninhabited area. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.